happy fall or spring equinox, depending on where you are in the world. I was just popping on to talk about the energy of this equinox, and I was guided to look into the Sabian symbols for the whole chart of this transition into with the sun going into Libra. And so I want to just read this. The way I do these Sabian symbol readings is there's a poem and a story. And the poem is the Sabian symbol itself, and the story is the expansion on that Sabian symbol. So I just invite you to settle in, and if you'd like, you can close your eyes and just allow these words to wash over you. And you can notice if you sense any impressions, if you see any visions, just notice what you feel, and maybe take note of it, write it down. Okay, so here is the poem. A houseboat party, a strong hand supplanting political hysteria, a butterfly made perfect by a dart through it, two men placed under arrest, an eagle and a large white dove turning one into the other, a dark archway and 10 logs at the bottom, a large aviary, a squirrel hiding from hunters, a harvest moon, a magic carpet, a man possessed of more gifts than he can hold, a man muffled up with a rakish silk hat, a jewelry shop. So that's the planets. That's what the planets are saying to us right now. And I'll expand in a minute. And here's the expansion of what they're saying. The story. Although to do so requires spending time unconstrained by polite society, yet also by seeing how our parents' power impacted upon us, understanding that we are an imperfect example of an ideal, to the point of modestly accepting these inevitable consequences of our misdemeanors, wisdom comes from bringing together love, will, and intelligence. Attempts at management teaches the relationship between beginnings and endings, and make known our awareness of the signs and veiled metaphors that we experience, to balance trust with caution. Thus we are constrained to see our lives as the fulfillment of desire. We can train ourselves how to release the grasping mind, avoiding overwhelm by development of discrimination, ever pushing against obstacles towards self-improvement, approving upon nature. So, in the chart and in this reading, there is a lot. The word man keeps popping out, and there's a big emphasis on the healing of the masculine right now. So, we have Venus conjunct Juno in Leo, and there's a square to Uranus and Jupiter, but then also she's trining Chiron, which is opposing Mars. So what's happening here is we're being forced to see a lot of truth within ourselves, within our relationships, and then that's helping us to activate this wounded healer to heal some of this this karma that we have associated with the masculine. And this really makes me think of Pluto making his transit through Capricorn. And I was reminded by the brilliant Tammy Brunk that Capricorn was originally a feminine sign. She's an earth sign, but we associate her with, being ruled by Saturn, and we associate Saturn with this very authoritarian, like masculine, you should. It's sort of this shadow. We really think of the shadow of Capricorn a lot, right? Which makes sense because Pluto is there right now. So he's bringing up the shadow. But what I see with Pluto, because he's in this position of the aviary right now, which is seeing through veiled metaphor, he's inviting us to look at the outer authoritarians in our lives, in the collective, and see where that could be within ourselves. Do we see the masculine as the part that is super critical and oppressive, like that overbearing emperor? Do we have that within us? Because we're certainly seeing it in the outer world. And today is all about bringing the two into balance, the dark and the light. And I'm really feeling bringing the feminine and the masculine together. And so Juno in Leo is all about needing, like, wanting recognition and appreciation in a relationship, and wanting to be your truest self. And Venus is really encouraging us to allow this feminine side of us to shine, as well as this Venus and Leo cycle that we're in as well. That's kind of what we're learning. And it's when the feminine can allow herself to shine, which we've been afraid of because of the generations of the feminine being suppressed. Now, Pluto's been welcoming us, and also this past nodal axis we were in between Scorpio and Taurus, to overcome our fears, to embody our feminine side. And another energy as I'm saying this that I'm feeling myself, and I think Mars, it might be in Mars right now. Oh no, actually it's the North Node in Aries. A man possessed of more gifts than he can hold, avoiding overwhelm by development of discrimination. Saturn is in Pisces right now, and he's really been showing us, like, the other world. And I really feel like he's having a life between lives review. He's got us in this liminal space where he's looking at the karma of the age of Pisces, which has been about this delusional sort of like inversion of everything. Everything's kind of been inverted. For good reason too, for us to come back to seeing truth, right? And where he is right now is an echo of the new moon we had in February. And I looked back, you can look back at the new moon in February, the new moon in Pisces. The moon was at the same degree Saturn is at right now. And when I look back at that, I saw that I was trying to figure out what my yeses were and what my nos were and where my boundaries were. And that's challenging, right, with Saturn and Pisces. But when we figure that out, that's how we become our own inner authority. So I see all these planets really challenging us right now. And yeah, I guess you could also say inviting us to remember and rediscover the inner balance of masculine and feminine, the inner authority. And so what I was saying, back to the North Node, is that I've been feeling so divinely inspired that I've felt kind of overwhelmed by all my inspirations and how am I going to make this happen? And I think this is where the masculine side comes in, and he says, okay, we might need to eliminate some things. We need to clean out and clear space before we can bring in the new. I mean, it could be a little bit simultaneous, but I've been finding myself working more towards the new and not allowing myself to clean up and release what's outdated as much as I would have liked to. So this could be a time where we're really going within and seeing like, okay, what needs to be cleared out? You know, this time of year, farmers save seeds. They collect the harvest in the northern hemisphere and save the seeds. And you're picking the fruits that are the strongest and preserved what you wanted, and you're discarding the rest to be composted. They're not going to waste. They're just being composted. They're digesting and going back to the earth to transform into something else. But they're still there, you know? So we're saving the seeds that really hold the wisdom of the strongest plants, the wisdom of what we can really utilize right now, to plant the seeds next season of, or next spring of what it is we want to see, right? So in the northern hemisphere, it's sort of a reflective time. And I thought it was beautiful when I really think about the whole world and how one side of the world is collecting seeds and harvesting, and the other side of the world is planting seeds and starting to grow. It's really like a beautiful metaphor for that yin and yang, how, you know, one side is dark and one side is light, and the endings and the beginnings are happening simultaneously. And so it's really, I feel like today is really about coming into wholeness. And I had pulled a couple of cards before I came on, and for my Isis deck, and I thought this was so appropriate. First, I got the Dark Mysteries, and then I got the Divine Sunchild. So there we go. We have the dark and the light. And the Dark Mysteries are about going within and seeing every part of yourself and allowing space for it. I have my black obsidian here because this is like the mirror, and this is like, this reminds me of another one of Isis's healing chambers, where you go into the chamber and you look in all the shards of the obsidian at all your different parts, and you send love to them. And it's when we do this, we can really shine our light. So it feels like a reflective time, a time of acceptance. You know, if you think about healing that masculine wound, it's about accepting rather than rejecting. That's Juno's fear in Leo, is being rejected. So there's a lot of softening and then also discerning, and it's really a balancing act on this day. So I feel like I feel very Piscean. I feel like I could just trail on and on and on. But I'm gonna pull a couple cards just to close this out. I want to pull a card from my Tree Angel Oracle deck in honor of the seeds and the nuts of wisdom that are falling at our feet right now. Ooh, gorgeous. Look at that olive. Look at the olives are just falling in her lap, and look at the light pouring into or shining from her crown. 32. Let's see what the message is from Olive here. Oh, 23. I was reading that backwards. Interesting. It's the mirror. That's a really interesting little thing that happened there, because when we look in the mirror, we actually see a reflection. It can be inverted sometimes. Anyway, it just shows like that union of opposites again. 23. War has no winners. With the first attack, humanity has already lost. Riches come from within. Honor your adversary. There are no enemies. They will share their sunlight with you as you share your joy with them. Wow, this really reflects what I was saying earlier about, and it really speaks to this Mars and Venus energy of using that feminine energy that holds it all to bring the masculine into balance. And I think when I say this, I'm really talking about the internal journey, but we'll also see that possibly reflected in our relationships. And in the men in our lives, even though we all have both energies within us, no matter what your sex is. And then I'm pushing my comfort zone a little bit here, and I'm going to pull a tarot card because I've been trying to learn the tarot for a while. I'm making progress. Ooh, one just flew out. Ooh, I love this. And I don't know, I thought I would challenge myself a little bit today. 3 of Wands. Looking forward to the future. And I love this because when the 2 are united, we can connect to the 1. That's that balance point, right? And that's the Christ consciousness, is the balance of the masculine and the feminine. And then that's when we can go on to create, right? There's a ship in the distance, and this actually reminds me of the Venus-Juno degree in the Sabian Symbols, which is a houseboat party. Although to do so requires spending time unconstrained by polite society. It's interesting because it's like there's this little party happening out there. And I love the symbolism of the divine waters, where all of it can be held. And we're not really worried about what's happening over there. It's like we're just having a good old time out on this boat. So I feel like a kind of a message as well to block out the external for a minute and to go within. Brittany, haha, polite society doesn't exist. Yeah, I don't know. You know, that's the thing though. We've got to hold the dream within ourselves. We have to be polite within ourselves if we want to see it reflected in the outer. We have to let go of that Mars aggression that says you're right, you're wrong. I'm going to fight you. It's more about surrendering and melting into the feminine. Because if you think about the sun also entering Libra at this time, Libra is ruled by Venus, and it's air, and it's seeing both sides of the story. It's seeing different points of view. And I'm feeling called to look at the healing properties of saffron, which is, you know, and saffron always has, I think it always has 3 stems, 3 red stems in the center. Saffron. Let's see here. Be patient with me here. Cups, Pentacles. This one's in a different order, so. Wands, here we go. 3 of Wands. It's a stimulant, diaphoretic, carminative, emmenagogue, oh interesting, for all circulatory disorders, promotes pelvic circulation, and is also used as a flavoring agent in cooking. Should be used only in minute quantities, as one uses a spice for cooking. The end is in sight, only a little more is left to do, picking up loose ends. So I feel like that's what this sort of inner healing journey has brought us to. There's been some separation. That's a part of alchemy, right? Like there's been this separation of, okay, what is the masculine? What is the feminine? And now it's a time to say, how can we bring them together? And how can we reunite them? How can we appreciate the dark and the light? How can we come into wholeness as individuals so perhaps we can see society come together? Yeah, it's that inner journey. And I think that's about all I have for this Equinox reading. The only other thing I wanted to say is I'm really feeling the energies of Carl Jung right now, and the anima and the animus with this, and also Walter Russell, because Walter Russell really saw, he really bridged science and spirituality. And he shows this diagram, I actually have it pulled out here, of the one mind, and how the one mind fragments itself and swings like a pendulum to be able to understand matter. And I'm thinking of my friend Steve Herbert right now because, I asked him, what do you think the point is of all of this, of existence? Just a little question, right? And he said, I loved his answer. He said, I really go back to what Rudolf Steiner said that works for him, right? And I love it. He said, it's about bringing spirit into form and spiritualizing matter. Bringing spirit into matter and spiritualizing matter. It's always about this infinity, and it's about the journey. And when we can find those center points where it feels like we're really embodying our soul in our body, and we're in that center point, it's like, just soak that up for a moment until we get back into the flow of the pendulum swing of one or the other, and just start exploring the different facets of our consciousness again, because there's lessons in all of it. There's lessons in the shadow. We don't need to be afraid of the shadow. It's really just, a lot of times can be the part that wants us to pay attention and to learn something. So I hope you have a blessed equinox, and I'm sending y'all lots of love.